I'll never forget the way she said it. "Starting today, you'll be reporting to me." Her voice was light, casual, almost playful, but the smirk on her face, that was a declaration of war. Her name was Candace, 26 years old, 18 years younger than me. Hired just last week and already announced as the new head of my department. My department. I had been with this company for almost 2 decades. Through mergers, budget cuts, CEO turnovers. Through holidays missed and kids' birthdays spent in boardrooms. I was the one who kept this place from falling apart. But now, standing there in that glass-walled conference room, surrounded by my own team, I felt like a ghost watching my career be buried alive. The CEO had his hand proudly on Candace's shoulder as if he was crowning her. "She brings bold new vision," he said. "The future." And just like that, I was the past. He turned to me. "Ally, you'll work closely with her during the transition." That word hit me like a slap. Transition. I knew what it really meant. They were phasing me out. I forced a smile while my stomach twisted into knots. "Of course," I said. But Candace didn't wait a second. "Let's get your workspace sorted," she chirped. "I'll take your office. You can move into the smaller one down the hall." Just like that, the office I'd earned after 18 years, gone. By lunch, maintenance was hauling out the desk my team had gifted me after we hit record-breaking numbers 3 years ago. My plaques, my framed letters from clients, all dumped in boxes like garage sale leftovers. And Candace. She walked behind them, heels clicking like a ticking clock. "That desk goes too," she said. "It's ancient, ancient." That one word gutted me more than I admitted. I sat at my new desk, wedged next to the supply closet. Every time my chair squeaked, I felt smaller, weaker. Then my phone buzzed. Email from HR. Subject, Performance Improvement Plan, draft. I blinked. What? Resistance to new leadership, lack of adaptability, failure to embrace innovation. They were building a case to fire me. Before I could catch my breath, my phone rang again. It was Howie. Nervous. Ally, Candace just called a team lead meeting in the Willow Room. She said it's not necessary for you to attend. My team, my own department, and I was shut out. I told him no problem. But it was. Minutes later, another email from Candace. A sleek presentation titled, "Expansion and Innovation Strategy." I opened it. My heart stopped. They were my slides, word for word, line for line, my European market strategy, the one the CEO once dismissed as too ambitious. Now, with her logo slapped on every page, it was suddenly visionary. I stared at the screen, my hands trembling. This wasn't coincidence. It was theft. By 4 p.m., I was summoned to my old office. Candace sat behind my desk, scrolling on her phone like it was hers now. "Your European strategy was well received," she said without looking up. "You mean my strategy?" I asked. She smiled. "Your research was useful groundwork, but I elevated it." "You copied my work," I said. "Word for word." She leaned forward. "That's a serious accusation, Ally, especially for someone in your position." "My position." "I'd be careful," she added. "People who stay too long tend to grow territorial. If you can't adapt, maybe this company isn't the right place for you anymore." I didn't answer. I just walked out, my mind racing. They thought they'd broken me, but that was their mistake. They had no idea who they were dealing with. And they were about to find out. What would you do if your life's work was stolen and repackaged right in front of you? Drop your city in the comments and tell me if you'd stay quiet or go nuclear. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you're hooked. That night, I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, listening to the silence in my house, the same house I'd nearly lost once to keep that company afloat. Candace's smirk haunted me. The CEO's applause when she paraded my work as her own replayed in my head like a cruel joke. But instead of anger, I felt something else. Clarity. They thought my power was in a title, an office, a nameplate on a door. But my real power? It was in my memory, in my habit of never deleting anything, in the dusty filing cabinet in my home office with an external hard drive buried in a drawer. 10 years ago, a server crash wiped out half our archives. I'd started keeping my own. Quietly, diligently, not out of paranoia, out of survival. That habit was about to become my weapon. The next morning, I went straight to that cabinet, pulled out the hard drive, plugged it in. Thousands of files, emails, contracts, presentations, notes, every milestone, every strategy I had ever touched, and then I found it. The original European expansion proposal. Time-stamped. Sent to the CEO's inbox 6 months ago, rejected with a single sentence. Too ambitious. Not realistic. But now those same slides, under Candace's name, were visionary, revolutionary. It wasn't just theft, it was revisionist history. And I had proof. But I wasn't ready to strike yet. Not until I had something undeniable. By the end of the second week, things only got worse. Candace started holding private meetings with my team. I'd walk by and the room would go silent. Laughter would stop mid-sentence. One afternoon in the break room, I heard her voice through the open door. "Allie's nice, but she's outdated. The board sees me as the future. Honestly, it's only a matter of time before she phases out completely." I said nothing. But I noted it, because words disappear. Evidence doesn't. The next day, HR called me in. The woman across the desk had once hugged me when my son was born. Now she slid a paper toward me like I was a stranger. "Please sign the acknowledgement of your performance improvement plan." I smiled. "Of course. May I take it home to review?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Return it by Monday." I left the building with that document tucked into my purse and fire in my veins. That night I worked until 2 a.m. I layered my evidence like an architect laying bricks. The rejected proposal. Candace's plagiarized slides. Email chains proving authorship. The performance plan, proof of retaliation. And then I found something else. A financial report from last quarter. In the consultant notes, before Candace was even hired, her name appeared. She'd been involved before day one. Consulting on merger strategies. Candace hadn't just appeared out of nowhere. She was planted. By midnight, I had a file that told the whole story, clean, chronological, undeniable. The next morning, I printed it, walked into the office like it was any other day. Candace barked instructions about replacing blinds in my former office. She didn't even glance at me. "Allie, make sure the Winterman account files are transferred to me. Oliver prefers working with me now." I just smiled. "Of course," and laid the folder gently on her desk. She opened it, glanced, and froze, her smirk gone, color drained from her face. This is," she stammered. She shoved her chair back so hard it hit the wall, then she ran. Straight to the CEO's office, clutching the folder like it was burning her hands. I leaned against the doorway, my heart steady. The first shot had been fired. And this was only the beginning. It didn't take long. Minutes after Candace stormed into the CEO's office, voices echoed down the hall. Muffled at first, then sharper. Her voice was shrill, urgent. The CEO, Gerald, tried to calm her. I sat at my desk, deliberately calm, casually clicking through emails. As if the world wasn't cracking open just outside my door. By the time Gerald's office door opened, the entire floor had gone quiet. Candace rushed past, face red, lips tight, clutching the folder like it might explode. She didn't even look at me. Gerald followed, slower, his expression unreadable. "Allie," he said, "can you step into my office?" I smoothed my jacket, stood, and followed. Behind his desk, the folder lay half open, pages spilling out like a crime scene. He didn't speak at first, just stared at the documents. Then finally, "Where did you get this?" "I compiled it from my own records, work files, emails, all company property." He leaned back, eyes narrowing. "You're accusing a department head of plagiarism. That's serious." "It's not an accusation," I said. "The timestamps, the emails, they speak for themselves." He rubbed his temples. "You understand how this looks. Internal conflict. The board doesn't want politics. Not now, not after the merger." "This isn't politics, it's the truth. And if we ignore it, you'll have a scandal worse than internal conflict." He said nothing. "Then, we'll review it. In the meantime, I expect you to remain professional." "Of course." But as I walked out, the office had changed. People stared. Whispers followed me. Darlene, who once split sandwiches with me, offered a faint smile. Howie ducked his head. Candace didn't come back that day, but late that night I got a calendar invite. Executive conference room, tomorrow. 9 o'clock am mandatory. No subject, no agenda, just one name in the sender field, Gerald. The next morning I dressed like armor. Neutral tones, polished, not fragile, not aggressive, just prepared. When I entered the room, the full executive team was already seated. HR, legal, 2 board members who rarely showed up for anything short of crisis, and Candace, her posture stiff, her hands white-knuckled on the table, but her chin still lifted, Gerald cleared his throat. "We're here to address concerns raised regarding departmental leadership." Candace spoke first. "This is retaliation," she said. "Ally has been difficult from day one. She refuses to adapt. She's trying to protect her position." Her voice cracked, but she covered it with indignation. I waited, then opened my laptop and connected it to the screen. "With permission, I'd like to present a few documents." Gerald nodded. "Slide 1, my email from 6 months ago, subject line, proposal attached, timestamped." The CEO's reply, "Too ambitious, not realistic." Slide 2, Candace's version, identical language, identical errors like the misaligned bullet under Greece, even the typo in Portugal. Coincidence doesn't copy formatting errors. HR leaned forward, legal frowned. "This appears troubling," HR said. Candace shot back, "It's a market strategy, similar conclusions are natural." I flipped to the next slide. "If it's natural," I said, "why are the design flaws the same?" Silence. Gerald stared at the screen like it might explode. Candace pulled printed emails from her folder. "I have evidence too," she snapped. "Team complaints. Emails showing Ally's stifled collaboration." She spread the papers like a magician performing a card trick. I opened my folder. "Here are the originals," I said. Legal picked up one, comparing. Lines had been cut. Context stripped. A joke about too many coffee breaks edited to sound like an attack on productivity. Gasps rippled down the table. Candace's face flushed. "She's manipulating this." I kept calm. "No, I keep records." "You rewrite them." Then I dropped the final page on the table. A contract. Gerald squinted. A consultant agreement from 6 months ago, signed by Candace Palmer, before she was ever hired. Paid to advise the company during the merger. One of the board members leaned forward. "Gerald, did you authorize this?" His throat bobbed. I was told it was a short-term market analysis. Without board disclosure," the man snapped. Candace stood, furious. "Ally is spinning conspiracy theories." I stood too. "This isn't about theories, this is about truth. 18 years I gave this company everything, and I never once asked for credit I didn't earn." Her voice shook. "You don't get to talk to me like that." "Sit down," a board member said sharply, and Candace did. For the first time she looked scared. Gerald's voice was low. "We'll need to investigate this further. Effective immediately, both of you are placed on administrative leave." Candace gasped. "What? No, you can't." But HR slid the papers across the table. "Paid leave. No access to systems. Until further notice." Candace grabbed hers, furious, and stormed out. I picked up mine slowly. "Anything else?" I asked. Gerald shook his head, but his eyes said everything. As I walked out, my team stared at me, some wide-eyed, some hopeful, but I didn't say a word, because they didn't know what I knew. Administrative leave had just given me the one thing I'd been denied for years' time. Administrative leave felt like exile. No emails, no meetings, no urgency. For the first few days, I sat at my kitchen table with coffee and silence. No pings, no deadlines, no one needing me. And for the first time in years, I started to think clearly. Then, slowly, the quiet turned useful. I opened my laptop, not out of panic but curiosity. And what I found was worse than I imagined. Candace's name appeared in places it never should have been, buried in consultant meeting notes, mentioned in strategy drafts from before her official start date. But the real bombshell? A line in a finance document, payments routed through a shell firm called Marlex Analysis Group. A quick search tied that group to one of our top competitors. Suddenly, the pieces clicked. Candace didn't just plagiarize, she infiltrated. She was planted. And she'd been feeding information to people who stood to gain from our merger falling apart. This wasn't just a personal attack. It was corporate sabotage. By the end of the second week, I had built a bulletproof dossier. Shell companies, payment receipts, consultant contracts, emails with traced IP addresses. I didn't need the company's server. I had saved everything. But the silence from Gerald and the board, deafening, they were stalling, hoping it would all fade, so I made a decision. Monday, week 3. I put on my best navy blazer, walked into the building like I owned it. My badge still worked. The receptionist blinked in surprise, but I didn't stop. The board was in session. I knew because I had memorized their schedule before suspension. I walked straight to the executive floor. Gerald nearly choked when he saw me outside the boardroom. "Allie, you're on leave, you can't be here." "I'm not staying," I said. "I just have one thing to submit." He looked ready to protest, but I had already opened the door. Inside. 12 board members, legal counsel, HR, no Candace. I dropped a manila folder in the center of the table. "You should see this before final decisions are made." No theatrics, no PowerPoint, just one page. A summary of the investigation I had conducted on my own. Dates of consultant payments, ties to the competitor shell company registration, Candace's signature on merger notes, every line supported by documents. Every claim verified. At first, no one spoke. Then someone whispered, "Jesus," another board member. "Is this real?" I nodded. "All public records, all traceable." One woman rubbed her temples. "How did no one catch this?" I looked at Gerald. "They did. They just didn't want to." He said nothing. And I knew what came next. Silence, delay, legal review, the board scrambling to protect itself, so I closed my bag. "You don't need to decide my future," I said. "I already have. I'm resigning, effective immediately." The room exploded. "Ally, wait," Gerald started. "No, you need someone you respect. That's never been me. You let my ideas be stolen, my career derailed, my reputation questioned. And only when your reputation was at risk did you start listening. I won't fight for a seat at a table where I was never welcome." And with that, I walked out. That afternoon, my phone exploded. News of Candace's suspension had leaked. The file I left behind apparently made its way to several shareholders and even a few reporters. I got voicemails from clients, messages from ex-colleagues, but one message stopped me cold. Oliver from the Winterman Group. "Allie, if you're really leaving that circus, let's talk. We've followed your work for years, and we're ready to move forward, with you." That night I sat on my porch, a glass of wine in hand. Candace would face consequences. Legal ones, probably. Gerald would have to answer to the board. And me, I was free, because revenge wasn't about screaming. It wasn't about burning everything down. It was about walking away on my terms, with my name, and my value intact. Sometimes the sharpest revenge is silence. Sometimes the loudest victory is peace. 2 weeks passed. Candace was suspended, but not gone. The board was investigating, which in corporate speak means waiting to see who survives the fallout. I should have moved on. I had offers. Oliver from Winterman was already talking contracts. But something inside me still burned. Not for revenge, for justice. Because I knew something the board didn't. They still hadn't seen the worst of it. You see, while they scrambled to decide my fate, I kept digging. Candace's financial trail didn't stop at consulting payments. No, it led somewhere far more dangerous, to conflict of interest violations. Insider meetings with our direct competitors during merger negotiations. Shell companies masking multiple identities. And the biggest red flag, a non-disclosure agreement from 3 years ago, signed by Gerald. That document proved it wasn't just Candace. Gerald knew. She had been advising him in secret long before she joined the company, and he had protected her, because exposing her would expose him. So I made one last move. I didn't go to HR, I didn't go to legal. I went to external counsel. A friend of my late husband, now a whistleblower attorney. Within 48 hours, a complaint had been filed with the SEC and FTC. Names, dates, financial records, digital logs, even recorded voicemails Gerald forgot to erase. A formal investigation was launched. That Monday, I woke up to a flurry of texts. Gerald had been escorted out of the building. Candace's photo and name scrubbed from the company's website. News outlets picked it up within hours. Whistleblower exposes corporate sabotage and high-stakes merger. They didn't use my name, but I knew. The investors knew. And most importantly, Candace knew. She tried to spin it. Sent mass emails claiming innocence, victimhood, framing herself as a scapegoat. But the internet doesn't forget. Screenshots, contracts, leaks. Her LinkedIn was flooded with comments. "Didn't you steal someone else's work? How's Marlek's analysis doing these days? If you're the future, we'll take the past." She deleted her profile within 72 hours. As for me, Winterman signed me within the week. Not just to lead operations, but to mentor future leaders. My first project, overhauling ethical hiring practices, because as Oliver said, we don't need another Candace. We need people like you. A few months later, I got a letter in the mail. Handwritten, from one of my old teammates. Darlene. Ally, I'm sorry I didn't speak up. We were scared, but you showed us how to stand again. Thank you. Inside the envelope, a photo, my old desk plaque. The one Candace tossed out, they'd saved it. Now it sits in my new office, not as a reminder of what I lost, but what I took back. Because sometimes the greatest revenge isn't in what you destroy, it's in what you rebuild. Stronger, smarter, untouchable. What would you have done if you were in Ally's place? Would you walk away quietly or expose it all? Drop your thoughts in the comments and tag someone who's ever been underestimated. And if this story hit hard, hit that like and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.